Thank you, Graciela. And we are ready for the final presentation of this final session of the week. We are very glad to welcome Dr. Cristiane Rodela. Bem-vinda, Cristiane. Cristiane is offering us with the presentation hands-on at the Paineira powder diffraction beamline at Sirius in Brazil. So, Cristiane, let me introduce you. Cristiane is a senior researcher at the Brazilian Center of Research in Energy and Materials, where the fourth generation synchrotron facility Sirius is located. She's also the coordinator of the powered X-ray diffraction beamline at Sirius, named Paineira Beamline, and group leader of the XPD group that includes Paineira and the paired distribution analysis beamline called Jatobá. Please apologize me, Graciela, I missed your presentation. Let me just remind the audience that Graciela studied at the University of Los Andes in Venezuela and obtained her PhD in chemistry at Brandeis University, Massachusetts in USA. She has been a chair of the crystallography laboratory, chair of the interdisciplinary graduate program in applied chemistry, and director of graduate studies at the Faculty of Science. She's a member of the American Crystallography Association, the International Center for Diffraction Data, the American Chemical Society, and a founding member of the Venezuelan Society of Crystallography of the Latin American Crystallographic Association. Please apologize me if I forgot the presentation of Dr. Graciela, and if you would like to connect with the presenters, please just let us know. We can pass the contacts of them. But now we are ready to hear Dr. Cristiane Rodela presentation from Brazil and LNS and Centro Nacional de Pesquisa em Energia e Materiais. Dr. Cristiane Rodela, we are very glad to have you with us, and please bring us with your nice presentation. The floor is yours.
So, can you hear me and see my presentation? Yeah.
We can hear you very well, see your camera and your presentation.
Great. Thank you, Carolina, for the introduction. And first, I'd like to thank the organizers of this very prestigious school to give me this opportunity to show the beamline that I'm the coordinator at Sirius, a Brazilian synchrotron facility. So to start, I'll just give you a brief overview of the Sirius. And so here is just to specify where Sirius is located. So it's in Brazil and in the São Paulo state, in a city that's named Campinas. Campinas is 80 kilometers far from São Paulo capital. So, but Campinas has an international airport. It's relatively easy to come from abroad and to arrive in Campinas to go to use the synchrotron facility here. So Sirius is placed in a big campus that we have here. And in this campus has a lot of national laboratories. All of them are open facilities, and they are supported by the Minister of Science, Technology, and Innovation. So in this campus, we have the Sirius, and is our second synchrotron facility, Brazilian synchrotron facility. In the past, we had another one that it was called the UVX. This was a second generation synchrotron facility, and it was deactivated in 2019. And in the same year, Sirius started operating. That time we had just one beamline. So, and these two facilities are part of the LNLS. And you have more Brazilian Biorenewables National Laboratory that works with green fuels, and methodologies to obtain these green fuels. We also have the bioscience national laboratories that studies neglected disease and proteins and things related to the living matter. We have an engineer group that gives support for all national laboratories here. We have also a nanotechnology laboratory where we have the most advanced Brazilian microscopes. And also we have a college that's called ILUM and is to, how can I say, create scientists that can work in all these laboratories. And here's a diagram of how the beam lines are distributed inside the Sirius laboratory. And we have finished the phase 1 project that it was determined in the past of the laboratory. It was to finish 2015 with 14 beam lines running at the Sirius, and we are almost there. In fact, operationally, we have up to now 11 beam lines, but we have already that are in blue, sorry, in yellow here. And we have more, we have already started the phase 2 project that is where 10 beam lines are predicted. And at the same time, we are building 3 beam lines that will be connected to a biosafety level 4 laboratory. This is very innovative. There is anything like this in another place in the world. So I won't give you details of all the beam lines that we have here, but especially in the phase 1, because you can get information in our website, but we cover from infrared to hard X-rays, and we have powder diffraction beam line, X-ray absorption beam lines, and small angle X-ray scatterings that are the most common techniques. But what we emphasize here in synchrotron, and this it's linked to the 4th generation facility, are techniques that use image, tomography, and imaging using different chemical contrast. And so now I'll be focused in Paneira beam line. That is the beam line to powder X-ray diffraction analysis. So to start, I would like to talk about the advantages of using a synchrotron light as the X-ray source for a powder diffraction beam line to study polycrystalline materials. I'm sure that this was already presented for you in the way that I'm going to present or not. But if it's the case that you are seeing what I want to discuss here as a second time, it's good to emphasize, because at some point in a synchrotron proposal to write a proposal to use a synchrotron facility, you have to justify the reason that you need this type of facility in your science. And to compare what's a synchrotron brings in as advance in the powder diffraction compared to a benchtop diffractometer, I listed some items. The first one is intensity. Using a synchrotron facility, you have much more intensity than using an X-ray tube. And this is connected to a large number of samples that can be studied using a synchrotron facility, and I'm going to show you that at Paineira beamline this is possible. Another advantage is to study samples in a kinetic situation. What I want to mean here is when the sample, so when the sample transform the structure according to the sample environment that's connected to the first lecture that we had in this morning. In fact, it's afternoon for you. And in a synchrotron facility, we usually have a very fast detectors that will take your XRD pattern in a matter of seconds or minutes. And this will be important to study transient phases in this kinetic experiment or in stable phases. But you have another advantage that's high resolution. And with this possibility of using high resolution methodology, we can identify and separate crystalline phases that in your diffractogram are overlapping. And we have an accurate determination of peak position, peak profile that will be very important to quantitative structural analysis that can perform using Rietveld refinement. At Synchrotron, we offer a much better signal-to-noise ratio, and with this, we can identify crystalline phases that in a minor quantity in your sample. And with the energy tunability, we can change the beamline energy and consequently the wavelength to avoid the fluorescence and to have another methodology that's called the resonance scattering. So all of the, so just another message, because you have to use a benchtop diffractometer, especially because probably it's easy to get access to this equipment, and sometimes it's very important first to screen your samples that you have prepared in your laboratory for your scientific case. Another thing that in some cases, a benchtop diffractometer can solve the scientific answer that we have when you are characterizing the structure of your material. But when this is not enough, or you need one of these parameter or more than one of these, it's when you need to apply a proposal to go to a synchrotron facility. And Paineira can be one of the alternatives. So Paineira is named after a very Brazilian tree that I'm showing here in this figure. But just for curiosity, if you note, all the beamlines at Sirius facility, they have trees or animals name. The idea is connect the name of the tree and animal with the technique that the beamline runs, but particular, I think that sometimes it doesn't match very well. I prefer just saying that it's a tree or is a bird, and if you have the opportunity of visiting Sirius, you see that we put stamps at the beamline with the tree, flowers, and animals related to the name of the beamline. It's very a colorful experimental hall. So in the case of Paineira, is a dedicated facility for high resolution and fast XRD acquisition to study polycrystalline materials. There you can determine and quantify crystalline phases. You can study micro and nano features of your crystal, such as defects, dislocations, strain, and determine the crystal size. You can study the sample under in situ or operando experiment. This englobes the kinetic experiment that I mentioned in the slide before. And it's when you use the sample environment that it was shown in the first lecture today. And we also offer a gas analysis for your sample. So you can connect a mass spectrometer or a micro GC to determine how this gas fluid has changed after going through your sample. So when you designed Paineta beamline and you knew that would be a state-of-art powder diffraction beamline, or in fact, would you like to have a state-of-art powder diffraction beamline, we decided to work in a transmission geometry that you see in my slide. And we design, keep in mind that we'd like to operate the beamline in a high throughput mode. And you see a video that I put here in my presentation. And it reaches one of the advantages of synchrotron, that we can measure very fast. So the user can bring a large number of the samples to be studied there. Another system that we are implementing is the Mail-in system. So for scientific cases that you can work in this high throughput mode, in fact, the user is not necessary that the user come to the laboratory to run the experiment. The user will send a proposal, and this call will be open for the entire year. And once the proposal is approved, because it has some, it shows that using a synchrotron facility will be important for the scientific goal of that user. So we approve, and we send the sample holders to the university of the user with a manual how to prepare your samples, and the user prepares the samples, register in an online form, and send us back, and we receive, put in the experimental hutch, and run the experiment for the user. And after that, you just send the XRD patterns by mail to the user. Another thing that we wanted to implement, it was the in situ and operando experiment. So with this, all these strategies that we had to implement instrumentations at the beamline was think in a way of having these targets. So when you are going to see, we have a module to control in situ and operando experiment. We have a very user-friendly graphical interface to the user operate the beamline, and software for the data visualization in the same time that you are acquiring your XRD pattern, and in a couple of seconds you see your XRD pattern on the screen, and even if interact with this data, as I'm going to show you. So we like showing this type of diagram here, and especially I decided to put it in this school because you have the opportunity to know how the optical elements are placed and the importance of them in a synchrotron facility. So here I'm showing the X-ray source that we have at Paineta, that's an ondulator. With this ondulator, and the monochromator that is placed here, we can change the beamline energy from 5 to 30 keV. And using ondulator, we optimize the photon flux at the beamline. And we have a very high energy or wavelength resolution that's acquired, which means that a very monochromatic radiation, that's a important parameter to powder diffraction. We have a high resolution detector that we can reach this type of resolution. We have our fast detector that's very useful for the kinetic experiment or in situ and operando experiment. It has a lower resolution, but it's a very good resolution. And the beam size is relatively big, especially compared with the beam size that you can find in most of the beam lines here at Sirius. So our beam is about millimeters. And here the Sirius, you can work at the beam lines that have a beam size of microns and like a 30 nanometers. And it's a very beam divergence. So everything was optimizing the optics to have a very good powder diffraction beamline. Here's a slide that shows the experimental hut of Pioneer, and is where the user put in the sample. So is where the user interact with the beamline. And we have this big 3 circles diffractometer working in a transmission or the bishatter or capillary geometry that you put in the middle, fixed in the theta circle. And we have here the high resolution detector, that one that can goes to this resolution, and it travels on the top of the diffractometer. I put it here just a scheme of the X-rays that come in this direction. The sample will be here in the middle of the diffractometer, and the bicones will be created, depends on the crystallinity in specific angles and with a specific intensity. And it's a 3D cones. So we have a detector that travels on the top of the diffractometer, and another one that travels on the bottom of the diffractometer. The one that travels on the top is the high resolution detector, and the one that travels on the bottom is our fast detector. So we cannot work with both at the same time, otherwise they will collide here in the zero of the XRD pattern. So our option is always first acquire XRD pattern with this one that takes seconds, and depends on the scientific case, or if the user knows that it's necessary to use the high resolution detector, so you put this in the safety position and start working with this one that goes from 0 to almost 145 degrees. What else that we have at the beamline? We have this magazine that you can put 320 samples. So this is used when we have a large number of samples, or we work in the Mail-in system. We have these 2 robotic arms. The small one that based on the beamline geometry, that's the bishatter. We name this robotic arm of the bi, and this other of shatter. So the buyer takes the sample from the magazine, identify the sample, and put in the middle of the diffractometer. This automatically you see in my video. And Shatter, the job of Shatter is to take our temperature source that we offer two. One is it's here, is the cryojet, when it's necessary to decrease temperature up to 8 Kelvin, or increase temperature up to 400 Kelvin. When only high temperature is necessary, Shatter can take the hot air blower that's placed here, and with this, the temperature in the experiment can vary from 300 Kelvin to 1,100, about 1,100 Kelvin. So, and you offer different sample holders. Talking about or specify the high throughput experiment, we offer these two types of sample holders. One is Kapton capillary. Kapton is a polymeric material and almost transparent to the X-rays. So the user can fill this tube. It's like a straw, a very tiny straw. So fill this tube with the sample, and it's connected in this magnetic pin. And on the bottom of the magnetic pin, we have a QR code. And talking about the user that receives this set to prepare the sample at your university, so it's just a matter of identify. In fact, on the computer system, this matrix will be identified and give you a number, and you connect this number with the chemistry of your sample. And we can offer different Kapton diameters, and as well as different pins diameters. And after preparing all of this, when you receive the sample from Meiyuin, we put in the magazine. And for this high throughput system, we only work with the sample variation from 8 Kelvin up to 573 Kelvin. Otherwise, this polymeric sample holder will melt. And another sample holder that we have is to work with samples that are not there, that are not produced in the powder form. So they are pellets or fumes or rigid samples. And you have this, is more or less, our pin has this neck, and we on the bottle have the identification system. So the sample is placed here and connected with the sample holder using a carbon double face tape. And you put it here, the beam comes from the back of the sample holder to this point here, and it's where the X-ray beam interacts with the sample. So now I'm going to show how this high throughput system work at Paineta BeamLab in this video that I hope it works. I saw a way here, but now let me see. Oh my God. I think that I need to change. No. Let's start running. I'm sorry. So it shows the experimental hutch of Paineta, and it's after receiving the samples of users. And in this case, it's going to show you samples in a powder form. So it's presenting all the systems that we have there. Now it starts working. It's the byte that's taking the sample that it was previous prepared and identified. It goes to a sensor. To connect to the table that it was online filled by the user. And in this table, put is the sample composition, but also how it's going to be measured using the high resolution detector or a fast detector at room temperature or varying temperature. So now it's sharing that we first take our hot air blower. So here's to show that the sample is spinning and the hot air blower is hitting in the same position that the beam will touch the sample. And here is just the detector going fast because in fact, this detector, it has a high resolution, but it doesn't measure very fast because it's a punctual detector. So to acquire a whole XRD pattern, it depends on the sample, it can take 2 hours, 3 hours, but it will be impossible to have this type of detector in a benchtop diffractometer. So this automatic system is something that you have seen in some presentations here because it's very handful for us at the beamline and for the user too. It optimizes the beam time for us and for the user. Is a trend you see in a lot of synchrotrons. And another thing is because a beam time, it takes 24 hours. So, and you have been during the weekends, during holidays. So what I say to my team, this is something is our dream that's come true this year because we'll have everything implemented and it's working very well. So now we can put the samples in the magazine and keep this system running during weekends, at night, and holidays. You put the machine to work for us. And during the day, or at least in the weekly days, we work with in situ experiments. That's much more complex, and we need to be there just to be sure that everything is going well. So it doesn't run so slowly as I'm showing here. It's just to you see in slow motion how everything works at the beamline. So when the measurement finished, Sherry takes the pin. I mentioned that it's a magnetic pin because in the middle of the diffractometer, we have another magnetic system that clamps. So when you finish, and here is showing a XRD pattern in a high resolution. So I'm going back to my slides here. Okay, so after finishing that high throughput system of measurement, we can have a high resolution pattern. So in here, I'm showing one that we have just to first to guide us that the beamline is functional and working very well, is a LEAB6 standard that we buy from NIST. And with this, we do the Rietveld refinement, and we give to the user the experimental, is the instrumentation parameters that's necessary to determine very well the wavelength and everything that's contributing to the peak broadening that belongs to the instrumentation. So we give these parameters to the user, and the user, after measuring a sample using the high resolution detector and to do Rietveld analysis, will need these parameters in the refinement. And for us, from time to time, we run this standard just to check that the beamline is working perfectly. And I would like to show some examples and mention why a synchrotron facility was used and a benchtop diffractometer won't solve this scientific case. One here is a ceramic that's a mixture of alumina, zirconia, and they put graphene in the ceramic composition just to increase hardness. And what they want to know if the yttria oxide, or in fact it's zirconia, sorry, I put it here wrongly. The zirconia oxide, what type of crystalline phase it was forming? Cubic, so it's yttria. It's me that made a mistake. The yttria is cubic or tetragonal, and graphene. They didn't know if graphene was going to the structure, the crystalline structure, or precipitating the sample. So it's a ceramic. If they crush the sample to create a powder, it won't represent the way that the ceramic would be used. So they kept it in a solid system and install it here in the sample holder. And what I'm showing here, that it was definitely important. We start working with the sample without spinning, and we got this very noisy diffraction peak. And when we implement the rotation, was essential to obtain a more defined and high quality diffractometer, peak position in the example here, but a diffractogram. And with this, and varying the quantity of graphene, so they could identify a small amount of graphene signature that they saw here, meaning that at least partial of the graphene was precipitated in the sample. And it was possible to identify and distinguish these two yttria crystalline phase. Now, I'll go to another example. It didn't come from Pioneer. In fact, I took it from the literature. It's a very famous researcher that runs this company, and she's a specialist in pharmaceutical samples and XRD analysis and synchrotron. So she used a synchrotron facility to determine the lowest quantity of a polymorph of a pharmaceutical company could be identified in the sample. And she this was performed at the ESRF in a powder diffraction beamline there that Graciele has shown it to us before. And she could identify just 0.05% of this phase mixture in the pharmaceutical sample, because there she could work in a high resolution. She had a better signal to noise signal ratio, and the signal has improved. So it's just to show the power of using a synchrotron facility to study this pharmaceutical sample, and the previous experiment with a ceramic too. Another one, it came from a user of Pioneer beamline. The group is studying this type of perovskite material, and they are doping this material with iron, and they want to know if the doping was exchanged titanium site. So then, if it was, they would have these 3 crystalline peaks here. But using a regular diffractometer, they just obtained this large peak, so it wasn't possible to confirm if this doping was going to as a substitution of the sample composition or not. So they sent a proposal to Pioneer beamline and got the XRD pattern. I'm just showing you a peak, but they got XRD pattern, and it was possible to separate the peaks, define very well the peak, and confirm that the substitution has created a different structure of the material. Another thing that we offer at the Pioneer beamline, and this is for in situ experiment, is a system that the user can control 5 mass flow meter to flow a gas phase, a liquid phase, or a vapor phase. It's possible to work at high pressure too. So this system here that I'm showing from in the back side is installed here, the beamline, as close as possible of our diffractometer, and it controls in situ or operando experiment. So this is very handful. And apart from that system, we have capillary cells that we'll find in all the beamlines in a synchrotron, because using this capillary cell, you can put your sample in a, here we are not working with a Kapton capillary or a polymeric capillary. Here we are working with a quartz capillary, because quartz is amorphous, almost transparent to the X-rays, and you can increase temperature up to 1000 Kelvin. The sample is in the middle, and we have quartz wool just to hold the sample and keep it here in this place. And using this cell, we can flow fluids through the sample and work with the hot air blower or the cryojet. You can vary the sample temperature, and have a chemical reaction here. This example of the cell, we just we put it to work in ambient pressure, because we glue the capillary with the cell in these 2 points, and we seal the cell. But when pressure is required in the experiment, the glue won't hold the pressure, so we have a more sophisticated system. It's a very similar cell reactor, but what changes especially is the way that we seal the capillary cell just to support pressure. And here's the system inside that we have to install here to keep the pressure during the experiment. And I can tell you that's a much more sophisticated system to prepare the sample, to keep the sample here, and increase temperature, increase temperature and increase pressure. Here I'm showing the first cell reactor, capillary cell reactor, the simple one for ambient pressure, installed at the beam line in the theta circle of the diffractometer. So the gas is, this tube is connected to that gray system that I showed, where we have the mass flow meters and so on. So the gas flows from this tube, go inside the capillary cell, and in the outlet, we can install a gas, a micro GC or a mass spectrometer to do the gas analysis. And here on the bottle is our fast detector that will be able to acquire the XRD pattern. The X-ray comes in this direction, and we have a beam stopper installed here just to the direct beam, doesn't touch the X-ray. As I told you, we can work with liquid phase, and for this, instead of flowing gas, we have this liquid injection to flow gas. And here I'm showing our heat source that goes very close to the sample to increase the temperature during the measurement. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we spent a lot of time and effort developing interfaces that we believe to be user-friendly interfaces to the user during the experiment. Just press buttons and put in numbers and control an entire in situ experiment in a, how can I say, in a comfortable way, because it has a lot of parameters to take care during a synchronous experiment. And if you are working with in situ, the number of parameters increases, and sometimes you need to change your gas composition, your temperature, and just see if the experiment is going well. So we create a lot of interface to make the user's life easier. And I'll give you a couple of examples very fast. Here's one that my student prepared a sample. It was a rutile titanium oxide that he put in iron, and he wanted that the iron would go to the vacancies of the rutile phase and created this iron and titanium oxide phase. But he was worried about not substituting entire rutile phase, and some rutile will remain the structure. And we went to the Pioneer beam line, and this is the screen that you see during a in situ experiment, where your XRD patterns that in this case were acquired in 20 seconds, be here, and you see all the experiment, all the structure variation during your experiment. When you finish, you can plot in this way or this way to do your structural analysis. Another example that I'm going to show here, and I'll go, it was just a very complex material, a high entropy material, and the idea was first to see if the doping of this material formed a new structure, and the experiment was performed at Pioneer. And here it's all the diffractograms that it were obtained during the experiment. And doing a zoom, the user could see all these peaks formation that are telling him that a new crystalline phase were formed, and here it's possible to know when it starts forming a new phase in terms of temperature or in terms of time, or depends on the gas that is flowing through the sample. Is another picture, because after preparing that sample and creating new crystalline phase, it was applied to a catalytic reaction. So, and here is just following the way that's necessary to activate the catalyst, and during the catalytic reaction, how the crystalline structure remains during this experiment. And in this case, it was very stable, what is necessary for a catalyst to run in an industrial application. And what else that we offer to the user can take one of this peak here and plot 3 things that can vary during the in situ experiment. One is the peak position, another is the peak width, and the third one is integrated area that will give more information about the structure. So with this, it's possible to infer about the cell parameter variation or macro strain. With this result, how the crystal size or strain or disorders are working at the material. And here, the phase abundance, atomic positions, and texture and occupancy of the ions. So after running an in situ experiment at Painera, it's possible to have straightforward a lot of results during the beam time. And we are also developing cells for batteries, one that holds a coin cell battery and another one that's a flow cell battery. So with this, I'll change. I hope that I'll convince you that Painera beamline is a very robust and a good beamline to have a high resolution and high quality XRD pattern. It has infrastructure to run in situ experiments there, and it's a user-friendly beamline. So here's my team, because everything that was done at Painera, we didn't do alone. We need a big team, in fact, much more bigger than this, because engineers and a lot of people that work in asynchrotron, they are there for us. And here's my contact, because if you decide or you want to know more about this Sirius facility, you can contact me and you put in contact with my colleagues that work in different beamlines. But at Painera, I'll be there to answer your messages. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Cristiane, for a very convincing presentation about the need of visiting Painera. And you definitely also convinced us about how Centro Nacional de Pesquisa em Energia e Materiais, Laboratório Nacional de Luz Synchrotron, and other national centers inside this big infrastructure in Latin America and the Caribbean is a unique place in the world. I have a couple of questions in the chat. Let me start with Patrice saying, please, could you give us details about the precipitation of graphene in the sample?
So a little bit, I can tell you a little bit, because it's not my scientific case. In fact, it belongs to another researcher that she works with me. And if you want much more details, you can send me a message and I forward to Flavia. But as far as I know, her student prepared this. It's a very common ceramic composition that's a mixture of yttria, alumina, and it has zirconia too. And he could prove that putting graphene the hardness increased in the ceramic. What is not something that I would say without proving that. He proved it using engineer measurements, and he want to see how much graphene it's needed to increase this hardness, or if he put in more than this, how can I say, quantity, specific quantity, what's going to happen, and how the crystalline structure varied in this synthesis, and where graphene was, at least partially. And he did the Rietveld refinement, and he knows that part of graphene is in the structure and part is precipitated in a very small quantity. It's
Thank
all
you.
that I know.
Thank you, Cristiane. Good that you left your contact. I have drawn a list of questions as well, and I'm gonna read two questions from Felix saying, "Can you explain how you switch between the fast detector and high resolution detector, and how do you put each detector in the X-ray path after diffraction?" He's asking something additional. Let me see if you can answer jointly. He's saying, does this XRD diffractimeter only works on powder samples? What about things coating analysis, thin coating?
So I'll answer. If I forgive something, you let me know. So the diffractometer, we have those three circles and they move independently. So in the middle is where you put our sample holder or the capillary cell, and it holds. The second one, that's theta, we fixed our high resolution detector and it moves. And the third one, that's delta, we fixed our fast detector and it moves. So to change from one detector to the other is just to keep the sample holder, né? If you are working with the Kapton sample holder, we keep it there, just spinning, and we move the 2 theta circle when you want to take the XRD pattern in a high resolution. But when you finish, or high resolution is not necessary, you just move it as far as possible from the direct beam. It goes to a safety position, and you can take the fast detector that's linked to another circle, and you move it to get the XRD pattern. In this, we have a control in the operation room. The user can do this, and we put in some safe system to, let's say that the user move both together. It's possible, but when they are very close, a system break the electric energy and everything stops before crashing the detectors. What else? I think that I forgot the additional question that could you repeat the additional?
Sure, we can come back. We have several messages also greeting your excellent presentation and thanking for your excellent talk. It's saying, does this XRD diffractimeter only works on powder samples? What about things coating analysis or thin coating?
Yeah. We can have a solid sample, as I showed. So the majority of the sample are in a powder form, but when the user have a film or a pellet or a solid sample, we work with the other sample holder. And these two, the other one that has a hole on the bottom, and these two sample holders, we can put in the high throughput system. So put a lot of samples and just keep the robotic arms working. But this week, we're going to develop commissioning, that we say in Synchrotron, a way of working in Bragg-Bragg tunnel geometry. because the diffractometer is it was made to transmission mode powder samples, or when the samples are very thin, you're working with the solid sample, but the X-ray beam has to cross the sample. And now we are going to develop a way of measuring in a Bragg-Brain tunnel experiment.
Thank you so much, Cristiane. We have reached the end of our session and all the joint-up sessions this week. I'm not sure if you're wanting to take a final question, but otherwise we can follow them up in the chat. Is it okay if I ask, or should we close?
No, for me it's fine. You can ask.
Okay, Amir is saying, usually we use the convolution analysis techniques to resolve overlapping peaks or sneering ones. Is it possible to use this tech with broad X-ray diffraction instead of this method?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I understood, but yeah, when you have an overlap of peaks in your sample, because it's a mixture of crystalline phase, one very difficult to characterize, for example, is soil sample. It has a lot of minerals and the peaks overlap. So we go to high resolution. Why? Because your background will be almost zero. It's a filter of things that are not scattering. It doesn't correspond to the Bragg law. So your background will be very flat. You can work with a step size very, very small. And in this situation, we also have our best, how can I say, the instrumental interference or the instrumental parameters are very low. You will optimize the crystalline structure of your sample. And you have the chance of separate phase when it's possible, because sometimes if you work with a not well crystalline phase and the diffraction peak is broad, it doesn't matter if you are working a high resolution or low resolution, your sample is not so crystalline, it won't separate, but is the structural information of your sample. But when it's a very well crystalline sample, use high resolution, that will help you.
Kristen, it has been do you hear me and see me now?
Yeah, now I can hear.
It has been a bright way of closing. Fantastic. Thank you for this brilliant way of closing our week and session. Everybody is saying wishing a nice weekend to us all. So thank you very much for participating. Thank you very much for the active participation of the audience as well with questions. And we're very much looking forward to seeing you in the next week of this symposium. Thank you, Cristiane, for your contributions.
Bye-bye.
And hope to see you soon.
Me too.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.